Bitter cold again this morning. You can't believe this is going to be, when I think back in the middle of the summer when I'm sweating and wearing a summer riding gear, I think back to this restoration, I'm going to think of that pond and all the ice. I think that's what I'll remember most about this winter, the cold. But what I'll remember is that I sequenced up stuff, and of course a lot of it's luck. But you can always stack the luck in your direction by just planning it out well and being lucky, which we were with Steve's project too. And boy, I've been just thinking about all those warm weather days, up on a mountain where you're sweating, and all those rides in the summer, and then a day like today. Wow. So Karen has the coffee on. She says I have about 3 hours today before Miles gets here. So I'm going to have to pick something I can do productively in a 3-hour time window. Some mornings after I have my coffee, it's easy to make a plan what I want to do. Today is one of those days. Yesterday we buffed this part out with 2500, I call it buffing, 2500 sandpaper. This is ready for buffing. I thought on this video we could include some good buffing tips. Turbo Steve may or may not come by today. We never really know, of course, when Tony Soprano has him on staff. So you never know if you're going to see Steve or not. He's kind of a mystery man, but that's okay. We understand life in organized crime. And to be honest, buffing out a part that's already been sanded with 2500, very enjoyable. And to be honest, I've enjoyed this, buffing these parts out a lot. This one will be no different. And then the last thing we'll have to do are those two big side fairings. We'll probably save that for a day that we have the whole day. Today we don't have the whole day, with Miles coming for half a day. So before I even get started, I thought I'd mention something that has worked well for me. I probably have mentioned this a 1,000 times. These are between $12 and $15, depending if you have a coupon. Sometimes I have a super coupon for 25%, but you never know. But here's what happens with these, and because we use them, I'm doing everything in the shop, they do wear out. And because they're an inexpensive tool, I don't even buy brushes for them, or even I took one apart and I said, this is not even worth, because what happens by the time the brushes go, all the little mechanical things in there are starting to get sloppy too. They get noisy, you get a headache. So the answer is, at some point in time, you just run down to Harbor Freight, pick up two if you're in the mood, if you have the super coupon. And I thought I'd do a quick unboxing, what they look like. They come out brand new, of course, directions. You have windy videos, you don't need directions. And they have this nice soft pad, perfect for exactly what we're doing. The only downside of this, I mentioned this the other day, the only downside of this plug, when you're buffing a motorcycle, this plug is rubbing on everything. So I'm going to convert this over in the meantime, just like I did to this one. So it has, let me show this. It has, of course, a safety. Come on, jeez, hang them high. I don't have anything that's rubbing here. I also make a zip tie kind of a thing so I can hang this on the end of the workbench. The reason is, a couple of times I've had it on the end of the workbench and stepped on the cord and it went overboard, and of course they're plastic, they crack, the switch breaks. So the day I get one of these, a brand new one, it takes me an hour or so, half an hour. I'll change the cord out, get that straightened out to where I don't have a problem. I don't want to have this near where I'm buffing, and I've learned that the hard way. Anyway, a brand new pad for every part. I don't want to skimp on these pads. There was a time when I used to skimp on them, and it just wasn't worth it. In fact, this looks like this might be, see what happens with these inexpensive tools, especially the spray guns, they upgrade them from time to time, and you go to put the old nozzle on a new gun and they change the threads or they change something, of course, to make it cheaper. What's the whole goal in life? But anyway, I'm gonna do this project first, so that in the middle of buffing this part, I have a feeling this one's getting ready. It's already really loose. The brushes are gonna go. So what happens? They start rattling around. You get a headache, and then 10 minutes later, sparks come out of this, and you can cook coffee on top of it. But the good news is they're cheap enough. And always, as I've said before, use a new pad. And this is the material that we've had really, really good luck with. I just thought I'd show this as a way you can tell. This is one of the older ones, not the other one. What happened with this is how you know they're getting ready to go. As soon as you hear that noise, you know the bearing is getting worn out. Just replace it. That's the easiest way. We have really had good luck. This product replaces the 8021 that we were using, and the people at Gavin's talked me into trying this, and most of the time they talk me into something. It works pretty good. Dennis, this works better than good. This is really good stuff. If you're really trying to buff out a model plane or something with this kind of a buffer, 2500 grit, and this, I don't think you can go wrong. The thing with this material, you probably, I guess you could buy it online, but they usually don't have these kind of products at AutoZone. This is kind of a professional thing. But where you can usually buy this, any place that sells body shop supplies. And of course, if you speak German, home for you all. Anyway, I'm trying to, the objective of doing all this buffing on video is a lot of people just get one part of it wrong. An example is they don't use the right compound, or they sand with 1500, or they do something. I've gone back and forth a million times. Believe me, I have really paid the price. 24 cured paint, 5C clear. This is cured over a week, in fact. Then, what's really critical, get it perfectly flat, no moon craters. We did that on a previous video. And then if you do use this product on a new pad, and I wanted to do one of these in real time, and I'll do the old ammo NYC thing here. I was doing this one time and I hit the switch with and the buffer turned on. And basically I was using this for cleaning my teeth, but beside the point. You want humor? Go to Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. If you want to know how to buff something, well, maybe you're at the right spot. We'll find out. Let's see, we always do a little paint test to start the day off. And let's see if this one is any better than the old one. Oh, nice and quiet, huh? Wow, I don't even have to wear earplugs with this one. Now, if you notice what happens, the paint either comes right up relatively quickly, or you're grinding away and it's like digging a hole with a spoon. Now, I always try to do the paint test in real time, so people can get a little bit of an idea. And of course, by the time you see this, we'll already have 4,500 subscribers, headed to 5,000, I hope soon. A lot of them in Asia. I was amazed how many are in Asia. Now I can't read the writing, but when they sign up, when they subscribe, I see the thing from YouTube. Anyway, I wanted to do this in real time. I don't like camera cuts and fake things. And that's if you use the whole system. Cure to 5C, block sand it with 2500. Use this. I almost would be willing to guarantee you're going to be a happy camper. Let's see if we can show some of that. Of course, we'll do it just like we do everything else, in segments, in pieces. But it's like that Marie Osmond thing. Eat the food, lose the weight. Okay, this brings me up to one other little thing. A small thing, but it's something worth mentioning. When this job is all done, and I have all the buffing done, the final thing, I'll want to put flitz. That flitz polish, which is a 6,000 grit. I'll want to get a new buffing pad, of course, or a sponge, the real fine sponge, because the flitz will not, I don't think the flitz will make it a whole lot shinier, but it'll leave that protection that when I take this out into the garage to assemble a motorcycle, I'll have that protection on the parts. And I think, I'm not sure until I do it. I don't want to have wax on this until I actually get ready to go put it out in the garage and assemble a motorcycle. Now, That was always the case doing lacquer jobs, acrylic lacquer. You never waxed them right away because you wanted everything to outgas. That's not the case with this paint. This paint cures from within. It'll cure underwater, in fact. But the thing is, it's just an old school way of doing things, and I'm not sure I gain anything, but I don't know if I lose anything by doing it that way either. Now, I was going to take apart and flitz it right out with the flitz ball, and I said, if this paint, because I don't really know, if this paint is still in a curing stage, then I seal it in. And I don't want to seal anything in right now. That's just old school way of thinking of things, probably not correct, in fact. And if you talk to professional painters, maybe they would contradict that. And I don't pretend to be a professional, but I do know how to do this. So what my plan is today, and again, because whenever I have to work around babysitting, the plan here is going to be just like the other part, just like the sanding. What I found didn't work for me well at all is if I do this, it just never got the same. If I concentrate on one little spot, another little spot, a good rule of thumb is a thing as big as your hand. And if you buff one section at a time, I think you really knowing and having seen this finish on this motorcycle in real time, if you've, and God forbid, you've gone back and watched all 100 episodes or whatever, we're into the 4th month of this, you can't help but think, yeah, it's a long road, it's a bumpy road, but at the end you have something that I think is worth having. Now, if you don't think, if you like flat black, sit on your motorcycle and then just drive away and go get a McDonald's hamburger. But I like this. That's the problem. I'm married. This makes the bike so easy to maintain. Just, to me, worth every penny. This little thing I do, just do with 2 zip ties so I can hang this right on the end of the workbench like this. Because I have knocked them, again, I've said it before, I have knocked them off the work, and they break. They're like vases. So here, this is probably the best view that I can show of what about 10 minutes of buffing will do. Once the part is, see, that's what's important about it, is not to get, it's probably, the right word is sequencing, is to do all the buffing without doing that 2500 sand out or without letting the paint cure. Just a waste of time. You just make more work for yourself. This is going so easily this morning. I'll definitely have this part done today. Now I got the whole top side done, but that's the easy part. The rest of this, there's a lot of little nooks and crannies down there, and I've got to figure out, a lot of this I'll have to do by hand. I don't want to get the buffer up in there. Definitely can't get the buffer into the scoops. So we'll have to think about how we want to do that. Have another cup of coffee and then one by one do these smaller areas. That is a part of this I can do. I'm hoping without having to do it by hand. But of course it's a lot more convenient with the machine. But you never know until you see how it's going to play out. And I always try to support the part with my hand, not just press down and in there. Now any part of this that doesn't come out okay, I'm assuming I'm gonna get right up in there before I forget it. So I can see the buffer. If I push the buffer in here, it's going to wind up hitting that part and chipping it. So, but this is the thing. And then down in this total, the valley here, that's another spot. Definitely not going to get the machine to get down in there the way I want. And the edges. And the rest of it, basically the flat areas, you can always do the flats. You just can't do around corners and edges. And that last little bit up there, I'm going to have to do that a little more by hand and around this edge, so you just can't get the buffer. There's always spots you have to do by hand. But boy, those decals came out perfect. Wow. Thank you, John Pothier. Wow. Eds, that's the final touch. And if you're running low on energy, there's no substitute for just an extra cup of coffee. That'll get the rest of this, but we definitely get this all buffed today. This is just going out better than I ever thought it would be. Wow, beautiful. And considering it's 10 degrees outside, it's a lot nicer being in here. There's always these little edges and things that I like to do by hand. The buffer is great for a big part of it, but if you start running a buffer along the edge, it usually will run the paint out to where you'll have a bad spot. And then, of course, the worst thing, you got something you got to touch up. So far, we've been pretty lucky with this. Now, what I thought I'll do later is I'll get a paint stick and wrap a microfiber all around it so I can get in here a little bit better. The buffer only gets into about here, but I guess you can see it's doing a very nice job. I try to put some of these things in fast forward. They get a little boring. And a part like this you really can't break up. I just try to do the whole, if it's that size, do it all in one shot if I can. Yeah, it worked that good. I just got to do the other side now. And then that middle piece, and we're pretty much done here. I'm really happy the way this is coming out. And I'm trying to get this done before the baby gets here, but I'm not going to rush it. Well, this is the last part here. And then I have to do a couple little spots by hand. But, boy, this has really gone pretty well. I'm amazed. And the one thing I always try to convince myself and convince other people that this is the kind of thing, if I didn't get a chance to finish this today, I'd let it go till tomorrow. I would not rush this job. Oh, and as these parts buff out, oh, it is just, we're almost at the end of the buffing. The next thing I have to do is make up a little tool with a paint stick and a microfiber, because I want to get down into those scoops. That's where our custom lighting is going to reside with the switch black bulbs. Take a paint stick, or actually a broomstick could even be okay here. Fold this up. Use a clean microfiber, of course. Now, you could put tape around this, or you can just hold it. What I'll do here, none of this is fancy or critical. We just want to get some of that orange peel out from there. And I think this will work. This will actually work in the corner of the fairing. And get out some of that orange peel. Now, I was going to try to make a little baby buffing wheel that goes in a drill. Problem is, this is an asymmetrical shape, and it's going to catch it. It's going to burn up the paint in the corners. So this is one of those things you just got to do it by hand. It's the end of it. So once that's done and I can clean that all up, I have a couple of spots in here I want to do by hand. We're basically under control here and almost done. Now, one additional thing that these are good for, this kind of a tool, this is one of the tricks you need to take advantage of. If you make a tool like this and you hold it back here, it's just going to unravel. You want to hold it as close up to the point as possible. In this case, I want to get in here where I can't. See, if I risk getting a buffer in there, what's going to happen? It's going to chip out a piece of paint or something. And this is well, just playing it safe here, just not being too cute about this. But I'm just thrilled. I got the whole thing done. I didn't know that would happen. A lot of days, every day is unpredictable around here. You never know what's coming. You never know when the pond is going to thaw out. Man alive. It's like going on Shackleton's expedition. Now, this little area in here I need to do by hand. there's always little spots that if you don't, you can see it in the final product. Also up here, right along the edge, I don't want to hook that with the buffer. I want to go right around there. And I want this edge to be polished, but I don't want to take off all the paint either, so I'll just be very, very careful not to overdo it. So today, I did not know this was going to happen as efficiently as it is, but we basically got the part done. Now, as always happens, it's almost a given. Once you make a part as shiny as these parts are, and they're high gloss, what tends to happen? You see mistakes you didn't see, and I'm sanding this out. It's this edge of the decal that isn't totally flat sanded, and because everything was dull at one point, I missed it. But here's the good news. There's a bad news, a good news. You just touch it up, and in a matter of 30 seconds, a minute, you can go right back over it. Just clean that off. And that's, as I say, one of the things I love about paint. It's repairable. There's other mediums that you can use, and one of the good ones is anodizing. When things are gold anodized or anodized at all and they lose their color, you're basically stuck. You got to re-anodize them. Looking back at this piece, oh, that just couldn't have gone any better. Really nice. Really nice. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we have a lot of choices for sequencing up our next couple of days. We have the side pieces. We got to put the headlights in here. We have to paint inside of this flat black, among other things. And what I'll do tonight after supper, I'll make up a list of things still to be done so I can go down and check them off. And if you could remember in the beginning when this fairing had pieces missing and chunks and Bondo, and I think even Luciano would be impressed. He'll never say he's impressed, but I'll bet he's impressed. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.